Over 3 centuries ago, a ship called the Mayflower sailed into this harbor with a band of pilgrims who were seeking freedom of worship in a new world. And the rock upon which they are said to have disembarked is now covered by a protecting canopy of stone. On a hill overlooking Plymouth Harbor stands the statue of Massasoit, the Indian chief who welcomed the pilgrims and remained friendly to them all his life. A bronze tablet illustrating the compact drawn up and signed in the cabin of the Mayflower has been placed at the base of Pilgrim Monument in Provincetown, where the pilgrims are believed to have first landed. And in the little town of Duxbury, another monument commemorates the memory of the pilgrim soldier, Captain Miles Standish, the valiant but bashful suitor who has been immortalized in Longfellow's story of the courtship of Miles Standish. 2 other characters in that story were John Alden and the beautiful maiden Priscilla, who said, "Why don't you speak for yourself, John?" And needless to say, John did speak for himself. He married Priscilla, and they lived in this house at Duxbury. That was almost 300 years ago, and their descendants have lived in it until modern times. Here we meet Charles Alden of the 8th generation and the last individual owner of the house. The faith which guided and sustained our pilgrim forefathers is symbolized today by the picturesque churches which dot the land they settle. This one at Sudbury has been restored by Henry Ford, along with the little red schoolhouse beside it, where the lamb followed Mary to school. Other colonial relics preserved by Henry Ford at Sudbury are this old gristmill and the Wayside Inn, which inspired the poet Longfellow to write his famous Tales of a Wayside Inn. The residence and birthplace of Clara Barton in North Oxford is another famous landmark commemorating the birth of the founder of the American Red Cross. Aptly enough, this shrine has become a center for humanitarian work, it being a summer fresh air camp for underprivileged diabetic girls. Typical of the small villages on Cape Cod is the little town of Sandwich, formerly famous for its beautifully colored glass. Because of labor trouble in 1888, this glass factory was closed, and Sandwich lost its one great industry. But out of the colored heaps of the old factory, a little girl dug countless bits of broken glass, and when she grew to womanhood, she used this glass in the creation of an art which perpetuates the memory of Sandwich's lost industry. The woman's name is Hazel French, and here are a few examples of her creative art, an art that glorifies Yankee ingenuity and also deserves a conspicuous place in the annals of American arts and crafts. Other fine examples of Sandwich glass are to be seen in this rare collection. Cape Cod windmills lend picturesqueness to the landscape, at the same time serve a practical purpose. This one at Eastham was built in 1793, and it is said to be the oldest on the Cape. The many windmills built on Cape Cod are believed to be the direct result of the Pilgrims' stay in Holland before they came to America. Hear ye, hear ye! We are now in Provincetown, where the old town crier still holds forth. But instead of shouting a choice bit of colonial gossip, he has something to say about a modern war in Europe. The same old Europe from which the Pilgrims sailed so long ago in quest of freedom and peace. Provincetown is noted for its quaint old homes and gardens, and to be there in the month of June, when the roses are in bloom, is a choice privilege for the lovers of floral beauty. It was from Provincetown that men went down to the sea in ships, and something of the picturesqueness of the old whaling days still remains in the fishing boats that sail out of Provincetown Harbor today. The fishing industry gave Provincetown a fair start toward prosperity in the latter part of the 18th century. At the same time, recovery of goods and cargoes drifting ashore from wrecked ships was a recognized means of livelihood. Provincetown is still a fishing village, and the majority of its permanent residents are employed in the fishing industry. But in recent years, it has become a famous tourist resort, offering a range of accommodations which vary from the Provincetown Inn to individual little cottages along the shore. The natural picturesqueness of Provincetown has led to the development of an artist colony, which, for all the confusion, has nevertheless produced many of the nation's foremost painters, playwrights, novelists, and poets. Vying with variegated scenes along the ocean shore are the sand dunes of Cape Cod, another popular rendezvous for the summer art colony. According to geologists, Cape Cod was cast up from the sea about 30,000 years ago, and these sand dunes were subsequently created by windstorms. In summertime, the temperature here is mild and desirable, but the winter blasts that blow in from the sea are so intense that the dunes are completely transformed into new contours and shapes, thereby presenting new inspiration each season for the summer art colony. Constantly resounding across the sand dunes is the sound of the sea, a strand of the Atlantic Ocean, peaceful to look at on a summer's day, but nevertheless one of the most treacherous coasts on the eastern seaboard. It is here that Uncle Sam maintains a Coast Guard radio station and a picturesque lighthouse with a crew of 10 men who do all the cooking and housework in addition to their seafaring duties. And here, we are told, is the only place on the eastern coast where the sun sinks in the Atlantic Ocean.